Should be going to YouTube now. Hello, everyone. I am tired, but that's just because I am normally tired. It has nothing to do with anything that's going on. I must continue my quest. I must continue my quest to finish all my homework. There's a reason why I've not been uploading recently, and if people are interested in actually understanding why I was not uploading, because people are invested in my YouTube career. Thank you, Adrian Hodges. But then you're also a robot who's trying to sell me bullshit. So, thanks anyway for the sentiment. Today I have another one of those meetings. But I started early because meetings. Oh, Jesus Christ. But why am I started early? I'm so loud. Because why? Meetings. Oh, Jesus what Christ. Why am I started early? I'm so loud. Because why? Meetings. Oh, Jesus what Christ. Okay, well that's a nightmare. Why is this microphone so sensitive now? It wasn't sensitive before, and now it is. Oh well. Turn me down. That's the answer. Not my problem that I don't know why the audio is fucked. Let's go try it again. Try out that audio again. Try out that audio again. Okay, yeah, just turn me the fuck down. I don't know why at 74% I'm blasting out the sound. Yeah, anyway, we have a white privilege movie to watch. And then we have another meeting of the minds. As far as the that one fucking teacher goes. We're gonna do Kanopy, which is like the black gay movie. Fuck yeah. The Bookshop. Is that about Jews? I fucking hate this. What was my email? No one watched me put in my email. Well then, hello again. Let's look at some of these stupid fucking movies that we have to watch. We don't have to watch any of these things. We only have to watch some of them. But after assembling a mock assault rifles out of everyday found objects, sculptor David Hess decides to turn them into an experimental public art installation to explore America's obsession with guns. The fruit of that mission comprises the story of Gun Show, a fascinating and deeply moving documentary that steers clear of advocating a position, instead invites meaningful dialogue about the cultural power of guns, beginning in Hess's sculptural studio and culminating in the mall of the nation's capital. Filmmaker Richard Chisholm's 3-year documentary Road Movie represents a continual quest for meaning, an invitation to freshly engage with the very loaded topic of guns. Gun Show is a powerful educational resource for inspiring critical thinking and discussion on the topics of culture, mythology, and symbolism, civil discourse, public policy, gun rights, gun safety, and violence in America. It's a bunch of crap. All this fucking website is left-wing garbage. It is left-wing movies about nothing. It is this stupid fucking movie about guns. Thank you for using comments. Comments will no longer be supported by 2021. There's probably comments that they didn't like. Negroes with guns. That's pretty cool. I like that. I actually like seeing black people holding weaponry. It makes them be more invested in American liberty versus them just being like not when they're being like thugs and killing their like each other with them. That's not empowering. Like when some guy just drive-bys his friend and fucking ends the life of a friend, or some fucking guy just hanging out. When it's like I'm protecting my property against the federal government, that's when I'm like, good for you. Let's read what this is about. Robert F. Williams was the forefather of the Black Power movement and broke dramatic new ground by internationalizing the African American struggle. Negroes with Guns is not only an electrifying look at the historical or racist leader, but also provides a thought-provoking examination of black radicalization and resistance, and serves as a launching pad for the study of black liberation philosophies. Cool. I advocate that black people should get fucking guns. This is a pretty good film, says Jim. I would have liked more context as far as how the fighters in Monroe armed themselves. My understanding is that Williams established an official NRA gun club. I was around 13 at the time, and remember that the NRA would get older U.S. military Springfield rifles donated to local gun clubs that he set up by mail. I was also under the impression that he had spent some time in the U.S. Army. This is boring. Oh, okay. He understands. Look, Black Panthers, Jim Crow. I doubt the current NRA president, one-time gun and drug runner Ollie North would have any interest in black Americans continuing to arm themselves. Well, at least this guy understands that that gun control is racist. I'm glad they understand, because it is, and we don't stand gun control. We stand giving the federal government the bullets first if they come to take the guns. That's what we stand here. That's what we like here. We're going to watch White Like Me, which is a horrible... I just hate it already. I just fucking hate it. White Like Me, based on the work of acclaimed anti-racist. That's a red flag, but continue. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Okay. Kumbaya, my dudes. Kumbaya. We gotta fucking center ourselves. That way, all the hatred of the world doesn't get into our hearts. Kumbaya. White power. No. Let's see. Explores race and racism in the United States through the lens of white and white privilege and a stunning reassessment of the American ideal of meritocracy. Fuck off! Claims that we have entered a post-racial society. Wise offers a fascinating look at the race-based white entitlement program that has built the American middle class. Fuck off. No, the United States middle class, the white middle class, was not given government subsidies to be in the middle class. That is not how wealth is accumulated. Most wealth is acquired meritocratically, if not all. Even, I mean, there is some people who benefit from government programs, but even then, it does not typically bode well for people who are given things. Argues that our failure as a society to come to terms with the legacy of white privilege continues to perpetuate racial inequality and race-driven political resentments for today. Well, you're making me resentful. Okay, I don't give a shit. It's the first film. Dumb bullshit. Let's watch. I have to watch it. Alright. That's just... The audio is fine. Okay. I am not invested in what you're saying.
When it comes to race, we've overcome quite a lot in this country. Slavery. When it comes to race, we've overcome quite a lot in this country. Slavery.
Alright, blah, 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 blah. Talking.
When it comes to race, we've overcome quite a lot in this country.
Talking.
Slavery.
Alright.
Talking. Let's keep it going.
Civil War.
I'm like autistic and need to watch everything at times 2 speed. So let's do it.
We've even elected a black man to the highest office in the land. Change has come to America.
Yeah.
To celebrate these things as signs
Hussein. What's good, Hussein?
We have to admit we're moving forward in this world, and the race issues are moving to the periphery.
I think those problems are largely behind us.
The fact is, racial inequality still exists.
Today, there are more African Americans in prisoner jail on probation parole than were enslaved in 1850, the decade before the Civil War began.
And racial bias still affects the way we view others.
I want you to check out this protester. See the sign he's waving there? It's the president made to look like an African witch doctor.
And we fail to recognize, we not only continue to do an injustice to people of color, we can do damage to white folks as well. I'm Tim Wise, an anti-racist educator and author. I grew up in the South in Nashville, Tennessee, and at a very early age, I figured out that race mattered. My parents were educated in a completely segregated environment, and wanting me to have a different experience than they had, they decided to send me to a preschool program at Tennessee State University, a historically black college. In a class of about 20 kids, I was one of only 3 students who weren't black. The teachers,
You got beat the fuck up, didn't you? Look at that awful little
and
kid.
from a very young age, I learned to respect black authority figures in a way that many of my white peers probably wouldn't have. And this seemingly minor detail made a huge difference in how I came to see the world. It meant that most of my early friends were black. As a result,
Are you one of the hood niggas, dude? Are you part of the crew?
By the teachers. It affected me. And even though I didn't really have a word for what was happening then, that racial division is something I remember even years later. College, I attended Tulane University in New Orleans. It was the late 80s, and I got heavily involved on my campus, along with other students.
And methamphetamine, look at that eye, look at his eyes.
These university students want their school to get rid of its investments in stocks of companies that do business in South Africa. To the best, it's become a rallying cry on campuses all across the country.
We spoke out, we set up shanty towns on the college quad and in front of the administration building in solidarity with the anti-apartheid movement. But even then, as I was becoming radicalized to struggles for equality and justice, I was largely blind to the privileges I was receiving in my hometown.
The situation lately has become more complicated in the wake of the killing of a policeman and the death of his accused killer.
Around the same time, just across town in New Orleans, a black man named Adolph Archie was beaten to death in police custody.
The minute it was discovered that Adolph Archie had died, everybody knew the police had beat him to death.
I remember reading about Adolph Archie's murder in the paper, and I remember thinking how terrible it was, but I made no connection to what I was doing and the experiences I was having at Tulane. But that all changed a few weeks later. I was speaking one evening at an anti-apartheid event, and a young black female student from a neighboring college, Xavier University, asked me, in the 4 years that I'd been in New Orleans, what had I done to address racism and apartheid in that city, especially seeing as how I benefited from it. The feeling that came over me was like the way you feel when you see the flashing blue lights in the rearview mirror and you know you're busted. Because the truth is, I hadn't done much of anything. I had the privilege of choosing to address racism 8,000 miles away, while doing nothing in the face of de facto apartheid conditions that existed right there in my own backyard. It was a powerful moment, and it made me begin to reflect on my...
He's like, what have you done to stop white privilege, white boy? Give me money.
In 1990, shortly after I graduated from Tulane, David Duke, lifelong Nazi, former Klan leader, the most prominent white supremacist in the United States, was running for the United States Senate in Louisiana.
You pass out things called nigger hunt license. A nigger hunt license. I do not pass out. You do not, but your lieutenants do. Maybe you do. Says, hey, take a license to use hereby license to hunt and kill niggers in caps. During the open season in Texas, this is you know, for kind of it's also, it's a joke. It is a joke, yes, it is satire.
When I interviewed Dukes earlier this evening, he insisted that the campaign was not about his past, but about taxes, crime, and welfare reform. Nonetheless, he did acknowledge that race is an issue about which he has strong opinions.
There's racism going on in this country against white people. It's called affirmative action.
I was involved in the campaigns against him, working as the associate director of the Louisiana Coalition Against Racism and Nazism.
The message appeals to the incarcerated white voters who believe that civil rights movement has gone too far.
In the end, Duke lost the election. The Nazi was defeated. But he received a stunning 60% of the white vote. The next year, he ran for governor, and he lost again, but he still received the majority of that white vote. And I remember sitting there a couple of weeks after the governor's race, realizing there was something truly frightening about the fact that 6 out of 10 people who write the same thing on their census form that I do, that they're white, were willing to vote for a Nazi. I mean, I knew they weren't Nazis, but now I also understood they were willing to vote for a guy who was. What it told me was that as a white person, I had very specific work that I had to do around these issues because these
Would I have voted for David Duke if I was there? That's a good question, because it sounds like they have cut him up to be, it kind of sounds a little bit like the stuff he was just saying about affirmative action and about him, you know, joking about hunting black people. Kind of sounds a little bit like the stuff that we're going through now. I don't know whether or not he was serious, but as far as free speech goes and as far as, like, what's it called? The civil rights movement has gone too far. Like, did David Duke just get, I actually don't know enough. I'm just saying, like, from what that clip just made me think, it sounded a lot like the media discriminating and, like, turning someone into a boogeyman by painting them incorrectly. Of course, I don't know. David Duke, I think, is a confirmed, like, white nationalist racist. Not just like some guy who's been deeply misunderstood, like some of the people who are called racists nowadays. I'm not out here defending David Duke. I'm just saying everything that he was saying in that little clip right there kind of came off to me being something similar to, like, the shit that modern day right-wing dissident people go through, where it's like, I'm not saying I want to kill black people. I'm saying it's a joke. It was a joke. Why are you interpreting my joke wrong? Of course, Do white nationalists actually joke? I've listened to white nationalists, and when they do have a strong feeling, obviously, like in the discords, when people hate the Jews or whatever, they talk about killing the people they don't like, right? I've been in those discords, not because I've found white supremacist discords, just because they exist in all discords at all points in time. They just are on most discords for some reason, at least for ones that aren't SJW-ified. So I want to affirm that I am not condoning any of beliefs of David Duke. I'm just saying the media looked like they were trying to smear him in those instances when he was trying to talk, and they wouldn't let him talk with that editing clip right there. Because you know how white liberals are. You know how they work. They manipulate the media. Okay, we're going to keep watching.
Any reflections on race from a privileged side?
For more than 20 years now, I've been trying to better understand for myself and to raise awareness, among others, about the centrality of race and racism to the history of this country, and how dangerous and damaging it is when white people like me are blind to racial inequality and our own privileges.
I'm blind. I can't see my privilege.
They're all white folks in the room that they hate white people. I get that a lot. Let me tell you, I'm going to say this. I don't want to be misunderstood. I love you some white people.
Ha ha ha.
My wife is white.
Ha ha ha. Perpetuate the white race. Perpetuate
Two little girls are white, which sometimes happens when you go white.
Wow.
When I was in high school,
Are you a stand-up comedian?
In the book, and in the movie version a couple of years later, Griffin, a white man, tells the story of how he darkened his skin with dye, medicine, and intense UV rays in order to experience what it was like for African Americans in the pre-civil rights South in the 1950s.
What's the big idea? I want to find out what it's like to be a Negro in the South. You get
Over the course of 6 weeks, Griffin recounts how he was harassed, followed, and threatened by racist whites.
You better find yourself another place to settle.
And in the end, he says that his assumption blacks were treated like second-class citizens turned out to be wrong. It was closer to 10th class.
You know what I do to troublemaker here? No. You can kill a nigger and toss him one of these swamps. Nobody ever knows anything about it.
The book became a bestseller and a sensation, and it had a profound impact on me and countless other high schoolers. But when I revisited the book as an adult, something stood out that I hadn't thought about as a kid. Toward the very beginning of the book, Griffin asks, how else, except by becoming a Negro, could a white man hope to learn the truth, ultimately concluding that the best way to find out if we had second-class citizens and what their plight was would be to become one of them.
White Southerner has to know what it's like to be a Negro. Really know. And you know what it's like, after 10 weeks or 3 months, whatever it is, you know. I don't know. And I gotta know.
Rereading this, I realized the entire premise was off. Griffin was attempting to understand racism by momentarily occupying blacks. He became a person of color. And while there's no question there's real value in whites trying to understand and ultimately empathize with the experience of African Americans.
That is not enough.
Turn this line of thinking around. In other words, instead of asking what it's like to be black, what if we just asked what it's like to be white?
I don't really know what it means really to be white, what it's supposed to mean. I guess I never really thought about it, but it was always kind of a negative thing.
When I ask students what it means to be white, what I hear from them is a lot of confusion.
The question was, it means to be white. It baffles my mind. I don't know what it means.
Whiteness isn't something we think much about, and in some ways, that makes perfect sense.
In terms of like culture, it's very general and very vague. I think like, seeing that having dinner with my family, but all cultures do that.
Because when you're part of the dominant group, you're not forced to spend a lot of time thinking about how you fit in or about how your privileges as a member of the dominant group might affect others who don't belong to it.
In order to express ourselves, we don't have to fit into.
Well, you are forced to think about it a lot when you have to take a whole class on it and constantly be berated by it in the media.
All white people have it easy, or that there are differences between the struggles of poor and working class white kids who have to work for everything and rich white kids who have things handed to them. Of course, those differences are real.
Yeah.
But none of that changes the fact that throughout the history of this country, being white has been far easier than not being white.
I love being white. I really do. Seriously, if you're not white, you're missing out because this is thoroughly good. Let me be clear, I'm not saying that white people are better. I'm saying that being white is clearly better. Who could even argue? If it was an option, I could read every year. I'll take white, absolutely. Enjoy that. Stick away, thank you.
I'm laughing
And let's
so
face it,
hard.
there's no denying that white people in the U.S. have had privileges throughout history that people of color simply haven't. Consider the very first law passed by Congress after ratifying the Constitution, the Naturalization Act of 1790, which said that free white persons and only free white persons could become full citizens of this country. Basically, our very first law as a constitutional republic gave white immigrants privileges that black people and immigrants of color and indigenous Native North Americans weren't given, all of it based purely on skin color. And whether we acknowledge it or not, this kind of systematic white privilege and race-based favoritism is built into the very foundations of the country.
I don't agree. I feel like it's been rectified.
And help create the middle class in this country. Programs like job insurance, which provide cash to people to give them a leg up as they look for work.
To show how job insurance works, let's introduce Steve, a Louisiana worker who has just lost his job. He goes first to the nearest state employment office to register for a new job. Steve didn't hesitate about going in, because this office was set up just to help people like him.
But while Steve in Louisiana could apply for job insurance, not everyone else could.
Of course, he cannot collect if he belongs to any of the groups of workers that the law does not insure. These are agricultural workers, domestic service and private homes.
Agricultural workers and domestic service workers didn't qualify for assistance, and it turns out this had everything to do with race. These two jobs were overwhelmingly held by black people, and over 80% of all blacks worked in those professions. So the only way FDR could get Southern Democrats to support the Social Security Act was if he agreed to exclude those workers from benefits. This was a conscious attempt by some in Congress to exclude as many blacks as possible, and the net effect of it was to give preferential treatment to whites.
Cool. Don't care.
It was the same story with crucial housing assistance for the American middle class. Loans provided by the FHA, the Federal Housing Administration, allowed working class families for really the first time in American history to own their own homes.
Homeownership is the basis of a happy, independent family life. And now, with the use of the National Housing Act Insurance Market, is brought within the reach of all citizens.
But the way the bill was written, the American dream of homeownership wasn't within the reach of everyone. For the first 30 years of the program, about 98% of the recipients were white. People of color were almost completely barred.
almost completely barred? Hold on. Why weren't they 100% barred if the system was racist? I don't know anything about any of these things. I'm just riffing because I have to watch this. I'm forced to.
Then there was the GI Bill, which provided immense benefits to returning veterans, including low-cost mortgages, loans to start a business, cash payments for tuition, and living expenses. What the GI Bill didn't do is protect black veterans, who qualified for that assistance also, from the kinds of legal discrimination rampant in pre-civil rights America. The result was that the vast majority of those who benefited from the GI Bill were white veterans. If a program like the GI Bill ended up disproportionately benefiting people of color, you know what we call that? We call it welfare. We call it a reward, a handout, a gravy train.
The GI Bill of Rights is not a reward or a handout or a gravy train,
But that's not the way it was described.
but rather an American way.
I don't care.
Each man to take his place once again in the community and get some of those things to which you
I don't give a shit.
I'm not trying to say programs like these are bad. There's no question. They've been instrumental in creating and expanding opportunities for millions of people.
No, those
20
programs
years
are
ago,
bad.
If we fail to explicitly acknowledge how they almost exclusively benefited white people.
Who is covered by the Social Security Act? People like these.
It needs to be understood that for hundreds of years, government assistance programs pumped literally hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars worth of wealth into the hands of white families before people of color even got to the starting gate. This is what we're talking about when we talk about white privilege, the structural advantages built into our very system that have helped white people, often without us knowing it, while making things more difficult for people of color.
For me, being white means that I'm treated as the default in a lot of cases.
Some of those privileges would be material, better job opportunities, better housing access, better education.
Now?
But some of them are psychological.
Don't believe
Just the
so.
realization that I'm not going to be racially profiled when I'm driving around town, when I'm shopping in the mall. I'm not going to be followed by store security because they think I might shoplift.
I've been followed by store security. Fuck off.
Times where I would be like shoplifting, and my race occurred to me then because I was like, man, I feel like if I was any other race or ethnicity, I would be.
I have known people who are people of color and they shoplift and they are not discriminated against and they were able to get away with it because they looked unassuming, because they looked middle class. They did not get picked up just because, oh, look at that, it's a little Filipino kid. Oh, look at that, that's a black kid. No, they were not picked up because they looked innocent. If you look like an unassuming guy just fucking shoplifting, no. I've been followed. I have worn my mask and I have worn shades and a hat and black clothes that tipped off the security guards because it looked like I was a fucking, they couldn't see me. I looked a little suspicious. So they followed me. I didn't think anything of it. These fucking people are full of shit.
Watch my security, so I felt very, like nothing would happen, so I didn't really mind doing it.
Maybe if someone's following you around, you look suspicious.
I read a paper where somebody was listing an experience where it was a group of females talking about, what it's like to be a woman, and there was a white woman talking to a black woman saying, we have similar experiences because we're both women, and the black woman looks at her and says, no, we don't. And she goes, well, yeah, but we're both women, and the black woman says, no, because when you look in the mirror, you're a woman, and when I look in the mirror, I'm a black woman. So it's that thing that you have to, it's a thing that you
That's your
don't
own
do.
fault.
For myself, from the very beginning, I was seen as a bright and capable child. I was trapped into the higher level classes. If I didn't do well, I never had to worry that it would be ascribed to my race, that someone might say, well, of course he didn't do really very well in the SATs because he is white. And this isn't just an anecdotal one-off story. The fact is there are 20 to 25 years of research, studies which have found that students of color all around the country are worried about confirming negative stereotypes in the classroom. Any fear that somehow they might live down to a negative group stigma directly affects their performance on tests. That's something that I, as a
That's
white
in their own
student,
head.
worry about. And so we live with the legacy of inequality that began so long ago, but also the legacy of
I don't care. I am so unsympathetic to these fucking arguments at this point. I am not hearing you. I will not hear you because these what about like this thing, this specific thing, oh, they're stigmatized, it's all in their head. It is all in their head. Just don't think that. And if you do think that, fucking stop. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Stop thinking like that. Stop letting the stereotypes get to you. It's like when people have certain expectations of you, and everyone has that. Everyone feels pressured to do a certain thing or have a certain like way of being in the world. And so really it's about just not giving a fuck about other people's opinion. If there's less, and black people don't. There are black people who do not care and they stop caring and they just kind of live their fucking lives and they achieve what they achieve. You can't convince me that, like, I think social pressure applies to all races equally, right? And I think that's very observable through the fact that, well, everyone feels like they have to go do this thing with their friends. So if they also are all in a social group where they all feel oppressed together, then there's going to be a push towards everyone not free thinking, because I say the majority of people are sheep. But then when you have some people breaking off and doing their own thing, that's normal for a population, right? So you actually have people who are thinking more for themselves and not just being, like, I don't know, dictated to them by stereotypes and about what they feel like they should do. And that's something that's cross-cultural and cross-racial and has nothing to do with some systemic long-term history that affects black people worse. Just stop fucking pitying yourself. God damn it.
That allows those of us in the dominant group to rarely even think about these matters. And even with the changes and progress we have seen, that absolutely has to change.
Break in our coverage here as we look at some of the pictures of the gathering crowd in Grant Park, Chicago, Illinois. This crowd, as you said, Brian, they're expecting as many as 500,000 people to come out here.
Barack Obama seems on the verge of the presidency. Who could imagine?
On November 4th, 2008, at a little after 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, television networks began announcing the big news.
Barack Obama is
70 years old, will become the president-elect of the United States.
Almost immediately, discussion turned to the historical nature of the moment, and with good reason. For a country with such a dark history of slavery, disenfranchisement, and segregation, to elect a black man to the highest office in the land, well, it made for an emotional night.
This is a wonderful day for the world. History making for African American president of the United States is beautiful. It's very, very beautiful.
My grandparents, great-grandparents, so it means a lot.
African-American men and women talked proudly about how far the country had come from just a few decades before when merely registering to vote could be a matter of life and death.
A church of the pastor's own distant cousin was shot and killed for simply trying to vote in 1930.
It's censorship.
White Americans, too, talked about the country moving forward to a better and more tolerant place.
I think it demonstrates that that's America. And some more 8 weeks ago, and I think it's in a better world. Thank you very much.
I think, you know, getting in good with the federal government and getting in good with the fucking heinous criminals that are in our government, that have been in our government for years. Ever since Kennedy, or I have no fucking clue, but the federal government has a very bad history of being just and the good guys. I'm not going to defend the federal government anyway. So just because you got one of your people into the federal government, I don't know if you should be proud of that. He played the game, and he's in bed with the elites now. He's not an independent guy. He doesn't really give a shit, and you could tell that he didn't really give a shit because race relations got worse underneath him, and the black community did not get uplifted underneath him. But it did get uplifted underneath Trump. That's weird. I know Trump wasn't the best fucking guy either, but he at least tried to care about the people instead of just caring about some mundane symbolism. That doesn't give a shit. No one cares.
Legendary civil rights leaders like the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who served as an aide to Martin Luther King Jr. and was with him the night he was shot, wept openly as he watched Obama's victory speech on election night.
Well, I must tell you, this is unreal, it's unbelievable.
And there was a similar sense of accomplishment from Congressman John Lewis, who put his life on the line during the freedom rides in the 1960s to help end segregation in the South, and to this day bears scars on his head from being mercilessly beaten by angry white moms.
The struggle, the suffering, the pain, and everything that we've been trying to do to create a more perfect union, it was worth it. I just don't know how to express myself tonight. I'm overwhelmed. It's been a long time coming, but tonight, because of what we did on this day, in this election, at this defining moment, change has come to America.
Feels like America did the right thing. It feels like there's a shift in consciousness. It feels like something really big and bold has happened.
We all grew up in school classrooms with some variation of this graph. 43 people who have occupied the office. What do they all have in common? All the faces in these offices. 43 of them are white males. That's the barrier that's broken.
It was an exciting night, and it was easy to get swept up in the moment. Clearly, the election meant something, but what exactly did it mean?
Does anyone know what this means in terms of change of race relations in the United States or perception?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, says the former Secretary of Education. You don't take any excuses anymore from anybody who says, the stack can't do anything, there's so much inbuilt this and that.
Did it mean that racism and hatred no longer posed a barrier to people of color?
And yes, it should have been a discussion of there is a glass ceiling beyond which African Americans cannot go. That's nonsense.
Did it mean that racism as we knew it had been dealt a death blow, and that a post-racial America had finally arrived?
We've achieved history tonight, and we've moved beyond something that has plagued this country from the very beginning. The whole idea of race, racial separation, unfairness.
Of course, no one would say that because Pakistan elected Benazir Bhutto as prime minister in 1988, that somehow that meant there was no more sexism in Pakistan. But that was exactly the kind of logic we got from a lot of people on election night here in America regarding race.
We have to admit we're moving forward in this world, in this country, and that race issues, while not gone, are moving to the periphery.
These are the kind of issues that race scholar Imani Perry has been studying for years.
One of the things that happened with the election of President Obama is that he began to operate in the minds of some as an example that there were no longer barriers to racial discrimination in American society.
Well, you just have to get in good with the elites to get up into the higher echelons of government.
The argument goes, well, this person was able to excel. This person was able to beat the odds, so why in the world can't you?
You just have to enslave yourself to the federal. That's all you have to do. That's how you get ahead. Cuck for the government, and you will be given the benefits.
We still have a problem with race, and I think that until we confront it, we address it, and we work with it, we won't be anywhere near post-racial. And it's really not post-racial we're trying to become. We're trying to become post-racist.
Of course, if you bought into this post-racial thinking, you had to ignore quite a few glaring facts. First and foremost, the actual election results. While Barack Obama won the popular vote by a solid margin, few seem to notice that he lost the white vote in a landslide, 57 to 43. Or that
how is it racist to not?
Only 10% of the white vote. Now, does that mean that every white person who voted against him did so because he was black? Of course not. But there's no question that for some white folks, that was exactly the reason.
Bomb Obama.
Even in northern states like Pennsylvania, it became clear that we were a long way from achieving the dream of colorblind society.
things that occur in these routes where people hurt and kill them.
Cool.
Someone yelling, kill them, refers to rock in the background, then treason, they yell out terror, and even someone heard someone in the rally say, off with his head.
None of this stopped the conservative pundits from blatantly ignoring this unpleasant reality.
The days of racism are over.
We've just achieved an incredible milestone.
I take it therefore around the world, criticism of the United States for being a racist nation will now stop, right?
They think everything's fine when it comes to race in America, and that it's time to move on to other things.
We don't have racism in America anymore. It's not helpful to tolerate racism.
But in reality, the claim that we've gotten past racism and entered a post-racial society really is nothing new. In 1963, when pollsters from Gallup went door to door and asked white Americans if they thought whites and racial minorities were treated equally in matters of housing, education, and employment, 66% of whites said yes. In other surveys around the same time, Gallup found that nearly 90% of whites believed that black children had the same opportunities as white kids when it came to education.
6 kids were murdered in Birmingham on a Sunday and Sunday school, innocent conviction, and nobody cared.
Now bear in mind, this was the height of segregation, a time when African Americans were forced to sit in the back of buses where they were routinely refused service at restaurants and barred from voting in elections. A time when, if they dared to protest these things, step out of line, they were firearms on the street, beaten by police and white vigilantes, lynched and often jailed.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
In other words, around the same time, 200,000 people were gathering in Washington, D.C. to hear Dr. King rail against racism and injustice and demand a better future. Most of us white folks were sitting at home wondering why the blacks were making such a fuss.
This was the opinion of the rights bill, like you.
I'm sorry, but I don't think the time right now. I think they have the right to. And I think this is the most ridiculous thing that has ever happened. And they make it this way as well. I have a plan to work. I don't understand it. Don't approve of it. I'm not saying tomorrow.
Americans have a long history of wanting to believe that everything's fine when it comes to race in America, and that it's time to move on to other things. And when we hear claims that we've finally entered a post-racial, colorblind society with the election of Barack Obama,
When was this
we need to
made?
remember this history, because the fact is, racial inequality still exists, and racial bias still affects the way that we view others.
They're not gonna. Thankfully, they're not gonna talk about Trump or anything like that. I don't care. People need to make the opportunities for themselves and not rely on the government. That's the only way to be free. The colleges aren't the way. The institutions aren't the way. Programs aren't the way.
The truth is, there are large and seemingly intractable gaps between whites and folks of color when it comes to income, wealth, and educational attainment, even basic health. Children born to African-American women, for instance, are more than twice as likely to die within their first year than children born to white women. Even black women who don't smoke have higher rates of infant mortality for their children than white women who do smoke.
That sounds like a health problem that is that's in their population. That doesn't sound like something systemic.
Part of this has to do with access to public health care. African Americans are twice as likely as whites to be uninsured, and when they do receive medical attention, studies have shown that they get inferior and unequal care. But even more than these,
is that based on where they live?
Is that dealing with racism and discrimination on a regular basis has incredibly damaging repercussions for black people's health. But maybe the most disturbing example of all of how race-based inequality persists in America is in our criminal justice system.
Today, there are more African Americans under
And then they talk about this, and this is a whole thing, and I actually agree with them that there's a problem in our. I agree with them that there's a problem in our criminal justice system, and I think it's unequal, and I agree with them. I actually agree with them.
the scale of mass incarceration in the United States.
Mass incarceration is bad. The drug war is bad. Sure, it was targeting blacks. Sure, it's the federal government abusing people. You can't. These people get picked up for drug running. They get picked up for gun running, and they shouldn't have to. You should be allowed to smoke crack and shoot your gun in peace and freedom.
All of us agree that the greatest domestic threat facing our nation today is drugs.
No. I agree. The boomer cons are fucking dumb.
Primarily for non-violent and drug-related offenses, the very sorts of crimes that occur with roughly equal frequency in communities and on college campuses and go largely ignored. A white kid living in rural Kansas doesn't drive to the hood to get his marijuana or his meth or his ecstasy or a little bit of cocaine. He's buying it from someone most likely of his own race down the road. Drug dealing happens in all communities, all colors, but those...
Maybe they should move to those communities. Move out of the inner cities. The inner cities are the fucking problem. They're over-policed. They are.
Criminal justice system, branded criminals and felons, and then ushered into a parallel social universe in which the basic civil and human rights that were supposedly won in the civil rights movement are
the cities are a problem. Poor parts of the cities are a problem. You should exodus yourself from cities.
If you break the law, you no longer have a home in public housing.
So many of the old forms of discrimination that we supposedly left behind in the old Jim Crow era are suddenly legal again once you've been branded a felon. That's why I say we haven't ended racial caste in America. We've just redesigned it.
It might be difficult to admit, but it's certainly not difficult to understand how this kind of racialized justice system ends up benefiting white people. We're not only much less likely to be harassed by the police when we're innocent, we're also more likely to get away with illegal activity when we're guilty. Congratulating ourselves on how post-racial and colorblind we are does nothing to change these facts, and in many ways makes things worse.
I think these examples of black success help to blind us to the ways in which systems and structures operate in our society today.
Yeah, you've gotten into the federal government. The federal government wants to abuse you. It wants to tax you and make you a slave. Everyone a slave.
These black success stories actually reinforce the logic of the prevailing caste system, the superficially colorblind logic that it's their fault they're at the bottom. And if they only tried harder, they could be President Obama. And that simply isn't the case.
going for jobs at applying universities. Here, everyone talks about like the quota to meet their
Sorry, I'm
quota.
gonna check myself.
Diverse population in the workplace or the student body. So there's, a lot of white females applying for a job and they have a similar resume. Even applying to universities, one African American female, she may get that over a white female, whether she has as much experience or not.
Everywhere I give talks, whether it's the Deep South, Northeast, Midwest, or the West Coast, white folks ask me, what about us? Why don't you talk about racism against white people? The undercurrent in all of this is the sense that efforts to curb discrimination against people of color, while admirable in the past, have gotten out of control, are somehow now hurting whites. And you'll hear this kind of thing all the time. People complaining about what they call reverse discrimination.
This is a case of clear and obvious reverse discrimination.
Complaining about affirmative action.
What do you think that affirmative action is for?
Affirmative action is to increase diversity by discriminating against white males, and that's why I oppose it.
Or they say that since we have scholarships for black students, we should have scholarships for white students only as well.
Dozens, hundreds, thousands of ethnically based scholarships that were for this group, that group, or whichever group, but none of them were focusing on Caucasian males.
The implication is that we should also talk about how white people sometimes...
What you do is you radicalize white people and make them racist.
Harvard University recently asked white people if racism against whites was worse than racism against people of color. Most of them said yes, that the gains of people of color were coming at a direct cost to whites.
I'm really not proud of this statement I'm about to make, but in application it seems like equal opportunity employer. Like, that's great, A+ job. But in that, I'm kind of like, crap, I hope they don't have like this kind of quota thing. Like you guys were saying, like they build a certain amount of races. I feel weird saying anything about this because it's just like, oh, this is what it's like, so.
And while there's no question there's real anxiety and fear when it comes to programs like affirmative action, the fact is, for every person of color who benefits from affirmative action in college, there are 2 white students who received preferential treatment because of their parents' alumni status or other family connections.
If in fact the concern over so-called reverse discrimination had any relationship to reality, people of color would in fact be getting all the good stuff. Some people think they are here all the time. People of color taking all the good jobs. Where the hell are these jobs in Second Life?
Another study found that only about 1/4%
You play Second Life a lot, dude? You like Second Life? You like the furry servers?
is money that whites can compete for, and the vast majority of those dollars will in fact go to white students. There's also the fact that the schools attended by mostly black and Latino students are more than 10 times as likely as the majority of white students to be places of concentrated poverty.
By the time anyone steps on a college campus, there has already been 12 to 13 years of institutionalized affirmative action for white folks. That is to say, racially embedded inequality.
What? What?
But even though that's true, there's clearly this feeling among
What does that mean?
that things used to be easier, and that now those good old days are slipping away.
How did we get here? I don't even understand this America anymore.
And underneath all of that is a very clear, if unstated, racial subtext.
And now to talk about what matters, and we're going to continue our conversation about all the vitriol going on in the country. I spoke with anti-racist activist Tim Wise about the tone of the Tea Party.
In 2009, I was asked to appear several times on CNN to talk about the Tea Party, a group of conservative Americans who had been holding rallies around the country, clamoring for the U.S. to return to a time of low taxes and small government.
Basically, we're supporting
Yes.
the country. Too much government, but the government is never bigger than the people.
Smaller government, lower taxes, and individual freedom.
The opera between Barack and Hartley.
Oh, they're gonna fucking shit on the Tea Party. Oh, fuck you, they're libertarians. Don't you do it.
My point on the show was that while the Tea Party movement purported to be about things like big government, exploding debt and deficits, liberal elites being out of touch with the common man,
Yes.
in reality, there was something else going on.
We are losing our country. We think the Muslims are moving in and taking over.
They're taking our liberties away. It's tyranny. It's Gestapo type tech.
I want you to check out this protester. See the sign he's waving there?
I don't care if one guy brought a racist sign. I don't care. It's also kind of funny, but I don't care.
About the economic crisis, there's also been a lot of unease about the fact that we have a black president and that the demographics of the country are shifting in ways that point to a future where whites will no longer be the clear majority. All of this.
Okay, hold the fuck on. Hold the fuck on. What you're doing is that you are pushing out white communities that need their feelings addressed, or else they will become racialized, which is what you see, right? If you do not, it's like, oh, the white people get so much benefits. You are generalizing a population. Some white people are getting a lot of benefits. Others are like impoverished deeply. Right? They are Appalachian backwoods hicks, and they are not benefiting from some, white affirmative action, secret affirmative action. If you are a white person living out in like the desert near me, and you are living on a homestead, you have no water, or you do have a well, you have no indoor plumbing, and your floors are made out of dirt. Do you have any fucking privilege? The answer is no. But these people do not want to. These people want to only think in racial terms. They are not understanding that when these events, like the Tea Party, and then subsequently the QAnon Trump movement thing, clearly these are the backwoods conspiracy theorist types that are trying to understand the world because they are the downtrodden. They are, again, the people that the government does not like. The white people that the government does not like and does not benefit. The white people that the government does benefit are the middle-class yuppie types that want to get a government job, that want to have some kind of, union job. Those are the kinds of people that the government loves because they will ask infinitely for gibs, right? And they are reliant on the government for anything, everything. They do not like self-sufficient people. And that's what the Tea Party, I don't know enough. I wasn't alive and kicking. I mean, I was alive, but I wasn't kicking. I was fucking 12 or whatever during the Tea Party, or 11, 9. It doesn't matter. I was young. I was not
cognizant of these things. But when I go out and I go to one of these QAnon rallies and go to a Trump rally, I see multiracial groups of people, all kinds, and they are people who want freedom and liberty. And you're going to paint these fucking people as just being, oh, racist bumpkins who, you know, have weird beliefs. Yes, some of them have weird beliefs. Some of them hang Confederate flags. Some black people like the Confederate flag. They actually have a whole lore of why the world is the way it is and how to look at the world that you don't understand, and you just paint as racist, right? It's I don't know, it's disgusting, in my opinion, for people to, like, you literally are just misunderstanding this entire half of the country. And you're gonna, like, again, these people being primarily libertarians, I'd be out there with my fucking gay libertarian flag, you know, me being a white, gay, fucking middle class yuppie person who does come from this culture of ignorance and being just, you know, attached to the government at the hip of the family, basically. And I've had to come and understand these people's point of view, and they have a point of view, and you don't want to acknowledge it. You just want to paint like, oh, one guy had a Confederate flag. I went to a rally with one guy who had a Confederate flag, and some of the people had asked him to take it down. Does that make me racist sympathizing? I mean, that's also a weird way of saying it, because yeah, like, if you understand why racists are racist, maybe you can, like, make them not racist. I've spoken to people who are legitimately white racists, and they hate black people and they hate Jews. And I think that you're not listening to them. Obviously, I don't believe most of what they're saying. There are some specific things about the way that the world operates that they make a point about, as far as, like, well, this group of people has this kind of bias or this thing, and yada, yada, yada. I don't believe... It's interesting to hear about, like, for example, Israel kicks out a majority of, like, non-Jews. And it's kind of a Jewish ethno-state, and the United States gives a lot of money to Israel. But I'm not out here being like there's some secret Jewish plot, you know, like, I don't give enough of a shit. Like, I've met a lot of Jews who are also, like, more populistic and for the downtrodden, so I don't think the Jews are all, like, in it together as, like, a racialized hive mind, as some people would like it to be thought of. But what is that? Point being is that, yeah, I'm a student of what people are trying to tell me. I'm a student of the world and of the communities we live in. And these people are not. They have their own history. They have their own lore that I'm saying that the racial justice people who live in the universities have a single way of looking at the world that is exclusive and will not acknowledge these people, and they're just racist bumpkins now who are lying about wanting small government. They actually just don't like black people. Yeah, it's not that the taxes are extraordinarily high and that we're running up the debt to extraordinary amounts that will destroy the economy. It's not that. It's because we hate Obama because he is black. That's it. Also, we aren't upset that the United States government seems to operate as a form of getting increasingly more power for itself by indoctrinating the citizens more and more to state power, or that it conducts legal murders of citizens that they don't like. It's none of that. It's none of that. We just don't like Obama because he's black.
And why some of these folks are so adamant, so angry, so upset that they, and I'm using their words.
Look at it. That's not a fucking white person. That's like Jewish or a Latino person. Oh my God. I can't believe she's doing a fist that looks kind of like a white power hand, but it's not because it's a fist. But some people just wave their fist in the air. Isn't it black power to do a fist in the air?
Want to take their country back.
We want our country back. We want our country back.
Tea Party message to Washington that we're going to take our country back.
We're just plain American people who are mad. We want to take our country back.
I've got to run here, but just real quickly, I was at a town hall yesterday, and I really had to take some people to task. Very nice people, but they were using those buzzwords that I don't think people realize all the time, like real Americans, or give me back my America was one of the songs, or take back America. It's like, what do you mean by that? Well, when you stand up and you wax nostalgic and say things like, I want the country that the founders envisioned, when the country the founders envisioned was a formal system of white supremacy. Excuse me.
Fuck off.
Race is not perhaps playing a pretty big role.
Fuck you, Tim
After one of these
Wise.
appearances, I got an email from a woman who was a Tea Party supporter, who was upset with my characterization of the Tea Party movement. She said that their calls to take the country back had nothing to do with race, that they were simply calling for a return to an era of low taxes and small government. When I replied to her, I asked her to give me a year that epitomized in her mind this era of American history. Which year did she and the rest of the Tea Party want to return to? Her response was almost immediate and not very surprising. The year she chose? 1957.
Leave it to Beaver.
It's a year that many conservative white Americans hold dear, and not just because it's the year Leave It to Beaver premiered on television.
Traditional America as we knew it is done. Ward, June, Wally, and Beaver, out of here.
For many conservatives, that was the golden age of American history, a time when everything was in its place before all the struggles for equality and justice came along in the 60s and messed everything up.
Yeah, and you're going to say that because, we gave, white people so many benefits through the government, that's when you're wrong. We got you. You're wrong. You're wrong. You just want the government's help only for you and not for anyone else.
Maybe the America that we're talking about has never existed, and we would like it to exist because it is one that includes the racial equality, right? It's always been in the country. It's always been an underlying thing that has been fought for, which is like an anti-federalism. Basically, we've never won. We've never had our government be the way it should be. There's always been increasing state power. Slavery was a product of the federal government and state power, and legalizing, the abuse of human beings. I know it's like, well, it was made out of capitalism. Slavery only occurred because of capitalism. It's like, yeah, no, unless the government backs the practice of slavery, it doesn't exist. And they took land from the natives, and there's always been a fight against the federal that we've always lost. So maybe people being like, we need to go back to a different time, a better time, even though in the past it was just like these people had groups of people enslaved to them, and that's why they had higher standards of living, or they were given special benefits from the government. Maybe we should stop playing this game, this game of musical chairs with the government, and we should just tell the government to get out of people's lives, and you are responsible for your own shit. I want no help from the government. I want zero help. I want the government to stay the fuck out of my life 100%.
Do you remember how that felt? Do you remember what life was like? There's this sense that we've lost something precious, special, deeply American.
This is about the systematic dismantling of this country.
We are truly concerned about the heartbeat of our country.
They can have my country, but they buy it from my cold, dead air.
That people are overtaxed, overburdened, forced to hand over their hard-earned money to government bureaucrats so they can reward people for not working.
I think the fact is, Americans are overtaxed.
Government is spending too much, and we pay too high taxes. I mean, everyone in America knows that Americans are overtaxed. Hello, we pay more taxes than we used to pay at every level.
The only problem about it, it's not even close to being true. The fact is, the top marginal tax rate in 2012 was 35%. A lot of people today think that rate is too high. But what was the rate in 1957? It was a whopping 91%, nearly 3 times higher than what it is today.
There's too much involved in the government. We can take care of ourselves.
Our government is spending far too much, and our federal government is far too large.
91%?
The size of government in the pre-civil rights golden age, it wasn't small by any stretch of the imagination. The programs created by the New Deal, which disproportionately, almost exclusively benefited white people, weren't just massive in scale, they were massively popular. So why do we have this idea that the pre-1960s was this bastion of American independence and freedom, of small government and low taxes? And why so many people today want to go back to that mythologized past? According to Martin Gillens, it has everything to do with our perception of who we think is benefiting from government programs today, especially those programs we like to call welfare.
I'm Marty Gillens. I'm a political science professor at Princeton University, and much of my research...
So, hold the fuck on. I don't mean to keep pogging forever. Why is it that in the past, white people were given like this infinite privilege of just being like in nice suburban homes, and they had nice union jobs, and they had, a nice stable income and all this other crap. And today, when, black Americans are getting welfare disproportionately, why is it that they live in crack shacks? Why do they not have the suburban home with all the other accoutrement that apparently welfare in the past, a form of welfare for whites, provide for them? Why is it different? Is it because we aren't taxing the upper class at 91%? That seems, hold on. 91%? That seems...
Do you remember how that felt? Do you remember what life
literally
was like? There's a sense that we've lost something precious, special, deeply American.
This is about the systematic dismantling of this country.
We are truly concerned about the heartbeat of our country.
They can have my country, but they buy it from my cold, dead air.
That people are overtaxed, overburdened, forced to hand over their hard-earned money to government bureaucrats so they can reward people for not working.
I think the fact is, Americans are overtaxed.
Government is spending too much, and we pay too high taxes. I mean, everyone in America knows that Americans are overtaxed.
Yeah.
Hello, we pay more taxes than we used to pay at every level.
The only problem with that argument, it's not even close to being true. The fact is, the top marginal tax rate in 2012 was 35%. A lot of people today think that rate is too high. But what was the rate in 1957? It was a whopping 91%, nearly 3 times higher than...
You were taking 91% of the top earners' money? I don't believe you. I also don't understand I don't believe that you were actually like, I don't know how, but you were not taking 91% of the highest income earners' money from them. You weren't doing that. They were not paying you 91% of their income. Imagine some fucking billionaire, rich millionaire guy, and he's like, oh, I've made $10 million this year. I'm so rich in 1957. Oh, what? You're gonna take 9.1 million of my dollars, and you're gonna leave me with like $900,000? Okay, yeah. Thanks, federal government. I need you to give it to my white middle-class neighbors, to give them nice homes and union jobs, and healthcare, question mark, in 1957 was probably not equal in any proportion to the way it is now. Better healthcare, even for the lowest levels. Yeah, no, they did not get taxed at 91%, and I don't believe you. I believe they probably got out of it. I believe that if that is even true, I'm not going to look it up. I'm too lazy. If that was even true, 91%, they fucking didn't pay that. It was 91% on paper, and they got out of most of it because they were in the government, and it was just a way to stop the little guy from getting up higher. And if they did racially help certain groups, okay, they shouldn't have done that. And I don't advocate anyone should be given that kind of privilege.
What it is today.
There's too much involvement in government. We can take care of ourselves.
Our government is spending far
We
too
can
much,
take
and
care of
our government
ourselves.
is trying to do far too much.
Tell me we can't take care of
It
ourselves.
wasn't small by any stretch of the imagination. The programs created by the New Deal, which disproportionately and almost exclusively benefited white people, weren't just massive in scale, they were massively popular. So why do we have this idea that the pre-1960s was this bastion of American independence and freedom, of small government and low taxes? And why do so many people today want to go back to that mythologized past? According to Martin Gillens, it has
It's because it's to do with race. Tell me we can't take care of ourselves. Tell me it's not possible. Tell me that the only way that we can get back to a level of equality in income that is equivalent to the past is by...
Welfare spending now topping $1 trillion a year.
The American public tends to view welfare recipients as undeserving, not really working hard to support themselves, and they view welfare recipients as
They might not be.
Both of those perceptions are at variance with what we know about the reality of welfare recipients.
Even though the clear majority of people who benefit from government assistance are white, there's this perception that welfare and other government programs are somehow a black phenomenon. Why is this? Well, Gillen says it's because that's who we see on TV.
Starting in 1965, media portrayals of the poor have been disproportionately African American.
Esther Williams, 21 years old, mother of a 19-month-old infant and a welfare client.
If you look at either print news or television news coverage of poverty, you see far too many black faces relative to the true proportions of African Americans among the poor in this country.
Alcinette Vargas, who has 6 children and a husband with a minimum wage job, reached her time limit in January without full-time work and was cut from welfare.
So when we see stories about the poor are represented by people of color at a rate that is far greater than statistical reality. But it wasn't always that way. Before the mid-60s, media coverage of the poor consisted mostly of whites. It was the unemployed during the Depression, the people who fled the Dust Bowl, the rural poor in places like Appalachia, and the coverage of these poor white folks was overwhelmingly sympathetic and humanizing. As a result, public support for social safety net programs was high from the period of the Great Depression all the way into the 1960s. But all of that changed.
There are
See, it's
people taking advantage of the system. Why don't we spend some time developing a system that weeds out the cheaters?
Once news coverage, media imagery, and political rhetoric started
See,
to equate poverty with
it is
poor,
all a
not as
ploy
the hard luck
to
system
get
failed them.
more
Instead,
government
it's
programs.
undermining the nation's work ethic. And the sad irony is that there are millions of white people in this country who need those programs too, and now they're not there. Those programs have been cut to the bone because the beneficiaries have been seen as undesirable, undeserving others.
Cut to the bone, we paid more, and yet they're getting less.
Free gasoline, they want it all because they think they deserve it. Well, in this country, you got to get a job. So, and work. Did you get a tax cut this year from Barack Obama? I don't pay taxes. I'm disabled from a truck accident and veterans benefits.
May I speak now?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm 90 years old, and I just wanted to ask the colored man, why don't colored people, instead of saying what we did to them, why don't they say what we did for them? They talk about the slavery, but since then they have given them welfare, free medicine, free everything.
Ma'am, I think this is more of a conversation about the relationship between the administration and the people on Wall Street, and not necessarily one that's based on race.
Oh, okay, I'm not a racist. That was my comment. Thank you.
None of this is by accident. The racial subtext that runs through a lot of the anti-government rhetoric is the result of an explicit political strategy that's been put to use by conservative politicians for decades.
Here's how I would approach that issue.
It is nothing to do with the fact that we actually want smaller government. It has everything to do with the fact that we don't like race.
Recently uncovered recording, the late Republican strategist Lee Atwater, one of the pioneers of race-based political appeal.
That looks like Tucker Carlson.
You start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger. By 1968, you keep saying nigger. That hurts your backfire, so you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. And you get so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes and all of these things. You're talking about totally economic things, and the byproduct of it is blacks get hurt worse than white.
The idea was for Republican politicians to speak in a kind of racial code designed to turn white working-class voters against government programs, the very programs that they themselves had benefited from for years.
The present welfare system has become a monstrous, consuming outrage.
Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
And this kind of thing runs right up to the present day.
President Obama is the most effective food stamp president in American history.
This is precisely the point historian John Bracey, a veteran of the civil rights movement, has been trying to make for years.
What the ruling class has successfully done is to label social programs as black programs, minority programs, and then you can kill it.
I don't want
to make black people's lives better by giving them somebody else's money. I want to give them the opportunity to go out and earn the money.
You know, that's the most foundational thing in American life. I mean, that's Obamacare.
Everything that is getting pushed through Congress, including this health care bill, are transforming America. And they're all driven by President Obama's thinking on one idea, reparations.
Virtually every normal kind of social program that would have kicked in Europe in the 19th century, you know, in order to help working people, you know, survive under capitalism, we don't have.
While the state's budget deficit has reached almost $500 billion now, the state's Medicaid program has announced more than $14 million is being cut to various providers throughout the state.
There are people that won't expand Medicare. Like I just got back from Mississippi. They're debating expanding Medicare in Mississippi. They need every nickel and dime they can get in there for anybody. They should not question anybody. If Martians came and said, we're going to give you something, they should say, whatever it is, we'll take it, the zing and everything. They refuse. They have a political system that's still dysfunctional enough that they turn down for white people in Mississippi because black people get something too. This is how racism victimizes white people indirectly as well.
I don't care.
Full examples of white anxiety and resentment around race being used to undermine their own interest and their own well-being.
People should provide for themselves.
Cost of failing to deal with black people as human beings. There's the almost million casualties of white people during the Civil War itself. By postponing the struggle, you know, to end slavery, by not dealing with it in a political fashion, he had to fight a war that lasted 4 years. That war resulted in the largest number of casualties in any war in American history. This is a war, an internal war, a war on this continent fought between white people on one side, white people on the other side. If you had asked them, you know, would they be willing to give their lives to free black people, they probably would have said yes. Right? But by failing to see black people as people, by failing to see slavery as a detriment to the social order, it resulted in them losing their lives.
You can never whip these birds if you don't keep you and them separate. I found that out when you've got to keep the white and the black separate.
In other words, for generations, political elites have deliberately manipulated the white racial fears and resentments of the majority population, pitting white folks and people of color against each other for the spoils of a system that really none of them benefit directly from, fighting over the pieces of a pie that none of them own. We can try to ignore and deny this history, but we can't change it. It's real, and it's a part of who we are. The biggest challenge is figuring out how to confront the truth without being overwhelmed by it.
I think we
fuck off.
Talk about race.
Yes.
I think those problems are largely behind us. I just think we talk so much about it that may help, I think, create somewhat of an illusion.
Many of us have come to believe that the real problem with racism is that we talk about it too much.
We need to talk about race. We need to stop talking about race.
That if we just didn't talk about it, if we just didn't bring it up, nobody would know anything about it.
I think more the problem is the accusations of racism, and that does drive the racist apart.
I think that we should be colorblind in every way. That we should aspire to be colorblind. That we should
Oh,
be
but fucking McCain.
We really want to get beyond the
Fuck McCain.
I do. I mean, I'm half Polish and then Irish, but we want to get beyond that.
Unfortunately, there are a couple of big problems with that approach.
Well, one, it's absurd, right? We obviously notice race all the time. If we didn't, we wouldn't have evidence that people treat people in unequal ways on the basis of race. But on top of that, colorblindness as an ideology is almost a willful neglect. I'm going to close my eyes to the reality both of diversity and the reality of inequality and injustice.
Because America is about opportunity and chance, an equal shot.
Fundamentally, everybody is equal in America. Everyone has equal opportunity.
There's also the fact that if we don't have a context for understanding the kinds of racial disparities and inequalities we continue to see in America, then racist explanations begin to make sense. If the one story from American history that we bought into is that we're a meritocracy, a colorblind society, that rewards people or punishes them based purely on how hard they work or how capable they are, then the entire history of institutional racism magically disappears, and we're left to wonder what's wrong with black people who can't seem to get it together.
Half of African Americans in the state of California, roughly half of Latino families, have no access to a checking account or an ATM. I think we take it for granted. They don't have a checking account. What's wrong with that? We can talk about no, they're hardly flawed, but they're strong. Genetics are making it work. Why so many of that?
In other words, colorblindness by virtue of keeping matters of discrimination and racism under wraps can lead to an actual intensification of racist thinking.
Really?
So let me give you an example. In April 2003, on my way to a conference in Iowa, I boarded a plane bound for St. Louis.
Oh, it's an anecdote. It's an anecdote.
Not one, but two black pilots at the controls of the plane. Now you'd think this would be a welcome sight to me, and after reflection it was, but that wasn't my initial reaction. Sadly, my first thought was more along the lines of, oh God, can these two guys really fly this plane? Now, don't get me wrong, just as quickly as that thought came into my head, I was able to defeat it. I knew instantly that such a thought was absurd, but in that moment, I was beholden to my condition.
In that moment, I had a racist thought, and now I know that all white people are racist. Oh yeah, oh my God. No, obviously, you can notice people's phenotypic differences, but I do not discriminate against people. I actually do not have those thoughts because I am a not racist. I'm not anti-racist. I'm not racist. I understand myself. I've grown up around people of color, and I know how to check myself, and that's what you're saying you're doing. But just because you have had this experience does not mean that, you know, actually all secretly all the time we're always making discriminations against these people all the time. It's like, no, if we were to make less thought about it, we would probably normalize relationships between people of different races faster.
I've been conditioned no less than anyone else to see people of color and automatically assume they aren't disqualified as a white person.
Oh my
Neuroscientists
God.
and psychologists have been studying this phenomenon for decades. They call it implicit or unconscious.
It's not real. Don't you give me this bullshit. It's not real.
Random gut reaction when we think about a particular group.
You don't have a good way of measuring it.
How quickly and easily do good thoughts, good, healthy, successful, educated, smart, come to mind? And versus when I see someone who's black or Latino, how quickly do those kinds of happy, successful, educated, smart pop to mind? And we typically find
It depends on how they look. Look at this guy. This guy looks like a fucking nerd who is like in some sort of college room or something. He has like weird like African symbolism behind him. That's weird. And this guy looks like some dude at a club. He doesn't even look like someone from the United States, he looks like he might be from Africa, like literally from Africa. Like if you were to put two pictures of like people in the same environment wearing the same clothes, that's different. This guy does not, like, it looks like he can't speak English as well because he might not be an American, or he might be, yeah, I there's something about the way he looks that I can't quite put my finger on. But then I could but we could choose a different picture that's a better picture, right? Of like a black nerd guy, and I'm like, it's like, I think that guy's a web developer. I don't think that guy's a web developer because I feel like he's either like a club guy or he's walking around on the streets because he has his shirt open. Maybe he's at the beach. But and this is the way, like the sallowness to his face. He's kind of looking at the camera in a sad way. This guy is not. So it's you chose specific pictures. I understand myself. I know I am not a racist person, and you cannot convince me otherwise. And that's one of the biggest things that these fucking programs are trying to make you do. They're trying to convince you that you're racist.
Those good stuff with white rather than black or Hispanics. The reason why these implicit attitudes, preferences, and biases make a big difference is that there's quite a bit of data showing that these implicit attitudes affect people's behavior in a whole host of areas that will either maintain or sometimes exacerbate inequalities.
In one test that looked at unconscious stereotyping, the vast majority of whites implicitly associated the faces.
That fucking test, it does not have scientific validity. It's just you see pictures of faces and then it gauges how quickly you say good or bad. For something so complicated, I think that's a little bit of a simplistic fucking research design, I'd say.
Of black Americans with negative words and traits like evil character or failure, and they had far more trouble linking black faces to pleasant words and positive features.
A rough estimate is that 75% of people who are non-black tend to show some degree of implicit preference for whites over blacks.
In the same test, nearly half the African Americans tested also showed a preference for whites over blacks, so none of us are new. We're all subject to the same condition.
No, that's not what I heard. People within the same race are more biased towards their own race. Equally, except white liberals. They're biased towards blacks.
It operates across groups. This is a culture that we have learned that practices inequality. This is not simply animus between groups, but this is a way that we are socialized to treat people.
The logical question is, what can you do?
You can't be colorblind because that means that you're not seeing the disparity and you're not trying to address it. We all have to see it, address it, make it real, and try to resolve it as opposed to pretend it's not there. It's there.
The goal, in my view, isn't to be blind to one another, but to see each other as we are, with our full range of experience, all of our baggage, as well as all the beauty that we bring. And still love one another, still care about
I'm not going to look at you and assume where you come from based on the way you look. That is not something I'm going to do, and nor something you can convince me to do. I look at you and I assume that you're a college professor who's going to try and convince me of some bullshit potentially. Although if I was to just see you without hearing you speak, because I've now been biased by your words, I would maybe assume that you're like a mother, maybe you're middle class, you have a scarf on. I'm assuming that you probably have, a couple kids, and you probably live in a neighborhood that's nice. That's what I'd assume by looking at you. I because of the way that you are dressed up, by the way you have taken care of yourself. It is about the attendant stuff around. The weirdest thing too was like when I bartended at like an Indian man's house the other day, and he didn't speak English very well, but or like he had a strong accent. He spoke English well. He just didn't. He had a strong accent, and his house was beautiful. It was really big and in a nice part of the area. And if I had seen him and he had a polo, like a nice dressy dad outfit on, yeah, I mean, I think if you were to take that same person and make them look disheveled, I would have been afraid of him, but then he's not, and he's hiring me and paying me money, so now I am not biased against him, and I'm actually, he's my boss to some degree in this moment, so so the only thing I'm thinking is hey, I need to make this guy happy, not, oh my god, is this guy gonna rob me?
About each other. I don't want to say to the young kid who grew up in the hood and who's being stopped and hounded by the police, I don't care if you're black. Of course I care. I care about you and your experience, and I see you as you are.
The answer is being color conscious, not colorblind.
Oh, fuck off.
In this country, and it means asking tough, honest questions about how the history of racism in America continues to shape the present.
Be color conscious.
To view the world that way, to view the world as an individual, to not recognize that other people are not leading simply individual lives, and neither are you. That's why people say things like, well, I'm not white, I'm just Tim. I'm just an individual, I'm just an American. Why can't you just all be, why can't you drop the hyphen? Because it's not your hyphen to drop, Jack, that's why.
In other words, Fuck you! Oh, this makes me angry. That was from my gut. That was an angry... Yeah, we're products of our environment, but our environments can't be assumed based on race. He's making fun of me directly. And this fucking guy with his lazy ass eyes. Fucking diabetes ass looking motherfucker. Don't assume shit about people. I've met plenty of individuals in my time as being an activist, I'd say, and I cannot know anything about them just by looking at them. That is what I've learned. And I'm not going to assume shit, fucker. Asshole.
Very different tradition in our own history, a tradition of white allyship, a tradition of white anti-racism. In addition to the typically pathetic way our history books address the contributions of people of color, very rarely is much attention paid to the average, everyday white folks who stood up and opposed injustice. People like Will Campbell.
Advanced units are already on duty on the grounds of Central High School. Colored people here in South got better schools than some white kids like this. Let them know their own school.
Imagine how different the racial dialogue might feel for us if we knew of those white folks who opposed enslavement, who opposed segregation.
Yeah,
John Fee.
What do you mean?
Sarah, Angelina Brinkley, Robert Flournoy, Matilda Gage, Lydia Child. How helpful might it be for lessening our anxiety as whites and allowing us to embrace the multiracial future of America if we knew about the history of white anti-racism?
Anti-federalism.
What if we learned the alternative tradition in our history, the one in which members of our community said no to racism and white domination and yes to justice, precisely because they realized not only the moral evil of those systems, but also because they saw both of them as cynical manipulations intended to divide and conquer working people, to keep us at each other's throats. People like Anne Brady.
The real danger today comes from the people in high places who are telling the white people that their taxes are eating up their paychecks. It's not because of our voted military budget, but because of government programs that benefit white people.
Virginia Foster Durr, Jane Ortiz Waring, Constance Curry, Bob and Dottie Zellner, and Mav Segrist, along with literally thousands of others who in their own way have demonstrated that there is more than one way to live in this skin. It's a tradition that fits with the best of the American ideal and can elevate that ideal to a place far more concrete than it's been up to now. And if we do that, there's no reason why we as a committed and decent people can't move to a different place as a country.
I only oppose what you think of is because I oppose your ideas, fucker guy, Jeremy Young, I don't know your name, Tim Wise, because I know that your philosophy about being, not being race conscious as a white person and, being respectful, I know that leads me to the thing that you don't want me to be. I, as being an individual, and I, as seeing myself as a member of humanity, and not treating people differently, is the thing that is stopping me from being the racial thought process people. That's the thing. That is the thing. So I'd be one of those people on the buses trying to help the black people not be fucking discriminated against by the police. I would be. Because it was clear who had the power there. The white people bullying the shit out of the black people had the power. But now who's being bullied? But now who's being beat the fuck up? Right? Obviously, if I was to see the reverse, the same exact thing happen today, and a bunch of white racists were to come out and to attack blacks, I would fucking fight the white racists. Right? But that's not what we see. I think you'd struggle. I think lots of the white racists have joined the Democrats and they've joined the left wing because they know that these people are trying to cultivate race consciousness and they like that. Racists like race consciousness intrinsically. That's what their entire philosophy is based on. So, yeah, that was that movie. I'm going to keep doing these because I have to talk about this and I have to let my feelings out. I do take away things from these because when I watch these kind of videos, I always take away some kind of better understanding about the way that the government has manipulated people into relying on them, basically. These people are very good at arguing for government stuff while also having issues with the government, basically. But it helps me understand their arguments to watch it and to yell at it. It's fun. I like it. I might do another stream later for at 3 o'clock for the CORP meeting, but I might end that one early because this is mind-numbing. These videos, these topics are mind-numbing. Anyway, I will be leaving the stream now. Goodbye.